welcome to another episode of the S&P. I'm the S. I'm Song, your conferences and events manager, and as always with me is...
I'm Garth. Paul, Song, it's nice to be here with you.
Hey, hey Paul. Fun fact, did you see that ball game in Iowa near the Field of Dreams field?
The Field of Dreams game was spectacular. I loved it. And not only was it an amazing setting, but it was also a great baseball game. It was very exciting ending to the game. But I'm a huge sappy fan of the Field of Dreams movie, and maybe someday I'll have to do my full list of my top 27 baseball movies. But Field of Dreams is pretty high on the list.
This is great. We cannot not do an episode without some sort of baseball mention. It's true.
The Field of Dreams was very cool. It would be like if NAI went back and had its national conference at Bradford Woods, where the first meeting of the Association of Interpretive Naturalists took place in Indiana back in the 60s or 50s.
Mean, I don't, they're talking about doing it again next year.
Yeah.
Field of Dreams baseball game. So, I don't know. This might be in the cards for us to go back and do that. I hope everybody has proper sleeping bags. So Paul,
yes, Song.
We, once again, I think now we're counting still on one hand how many times you and I have been actually in person together.
Seeing each other face to face.
Yeah, it's amazing.
IRL.
IRL. The last episode when we were together was the board meeting, but I think we've got Milward here to give us an update on how that went.
Are we calling this Milward's Arcade?
Milward's Arcade.
Milward's Arcade. Milward.
How are you doing, Song? How are you doing, Paul?
Hey. Milward, we just had our board meeting, which was the first time I've actually met you in person, which is kind of awesome.
That's insane.
And a lot of the members of the board, and that was just it was great being in all the same room. A lot of them participated via Zoom, but for me, that was a great time and good conversation. So based on that, what are you excited about?
Oh boy. Well, it was such an exciting and inspiring time. And exactly, this is the first time I think in almost 2 years that this board's been able to meet together in person. I know that there are a few board members who have never laid eyes on each other in person before since they joined the board. So what a wonderful occasion and just a great opportunity to finally, get everybody together and really feel like a unified board and a unified organization that's all working towards these great aspirational goals that we've set for ourselves. And we were very safe, COVID is kind of blowing up again. So we were masked indoors and being very responsible, but just the opportunity to be together in person was momentous in and of itself. And then to have a momentous agenda with something like culminating in the adoption of a new definition for interpretation. A lot of nonprofit board meetings end up being about, just the financial report and kind of the nuts and bolts and committees and stuff like that. But here we are, first week of August, and we get a chance to approve a new definition of interpretation.
Milward, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
What's the new definition?
Okay. Interpretation is a purposeful approach to communication that facilitates meaningful, relevant, and inclusive experiences that deepen understanding, broaden perspectives, and inspire engagement with the world around us.
Verbatim, you nailed it. Milward has been committing this to memory, actively committing this to memory here in the office. So I knew I could put Milward on the spot with that. So, and I only knew that you got it right because I have it up on my screen. I was following along as you were reciting it from memory there.
Well, you know what, Paul, I think it was a proud moment for the organization. This is a really, really big deal. And it's something that the organization set as a goal clear back in 2018. So there was a very carefully constructed road that got us from 2018 and the definitions task force to today. And my personal impression is that it's a definition that casts an appropriately broad and inclusive net to encapsulate people who do this very, very special approach to communication in all kinds of settings. And so I think it's a step forward for the profession with this new definition. So that was the most momentous thing that occurred during the board meeting, for sure.
Well, and I have to say that, we keep tabs on this, right? We put it out there on social media and the response has been positive, largely. You're never going to please everybody all the time, but I would say for the most part, the reaction has been positive. And, you don't always get positive reactions to things, especially on social media. So it's been interesting to see that folks are happy with it. So,
well, our field is constantly evolving. There are so many different philosophies and approaches to how you practice interpretation. So coming up with a definition that can be inclusive of all of those different approaches is difficult, and it's not going to be perfect, and it's not going to please everyone. And we certainly realize that going into it, but it was an important exercise, and I think the board ended up in a good place. And it was something that I thought kind of brought the organization together, to have put that out there. After 2 years of never being together, I think it was a big deal and something that strengthened the whole organization. So it was exciting. But that's not all we did. We did work together on the strategic plan. We divided into groups. We have this wonderful aspirational strategic plan. And Paul and Song, it's all about how we can be just always working to improve our association, how we can be healthy and sustainable as an organization, how we can meet the evolving needs of you, our members out there, how we can deepen and expand our partnerships. There's so much potential, and how we can advocate for this profession and make sure that it's valued the way that we feel it needs to be valued around the country, and how to be the driving force for justice, diversity, accessibility, inclusion, and diversity. And that is a big goal we've set for ourselves. And that brings me to the culmination of the board meeting, which was a wonderful half-day training by our own Parker McMullen Bushman. And the diversity, equity, and inclusion training, I learned just a huge amount about different kinds of bias and how different kinds of bias gets built into different systems of oppression that we may be, more or less even conscious of, and being aware of that. How can we work to become a truly multicultural organization? It's a difficult but lofty goal, but one that I feel that this training helped kind of put us on that path towards. So this was an exciting, momentous, wonderful, and inspiring board meeting. And just want to give a shout out to the board members. That's one of the things that's so delightful about working in a nonprofit organization, because your board members are volunteers. There are people that are giving of their own freely, of their own time, energy, and talent, and passion, and dedication. And we're all coming together for a common purpose, even though people come from different walks of life, different career paths from all over the country. So truly an exciting time for the association. It just reminds me how much potential there is and how much we can do for the profession and for the world.
Well, I have to say that, first of all, I agree with everything that you just said there. It's always great to get together with NAIers in any occasion. And, these board meetings, these in-person board meetings are always terrific. But I have to say that my caloric intake skyrockets whenever I'm around other NAIers. I'm not sure what it is about this group, but man, we love to eat.
Well, I'm still on a learning curve here, less than a year in, but I definitely learned that. You can see your caloric intake get out of control for sure. But
for sure,
what a fun time and great fellowship, and just great to meet everybody in person for sure.
Great. And the next in-person board meeting will be right on the heels of National Conference in Palm Springs. Is that correct?
That is correct.
The day before, Tuesday, November 30 is the next in-person board meeting. And the great thing about doing that at the conference is that members can come sit in and check it out and see what it's all about. And we always enjoy having folks participate in person.
Absolutely, Paul, and thanks for that reminder. I'd like all of our members to be aware that you are invited to watch the board meetings, to see what's going on, and get a sense of work that we're undertaking and be a part of all that. So.
Okay, hey, thanks Milward for joining us in this episode, and we will see you soon.
You didn't ask me a music question this time.
You know, I was thinking my music question was going to be, if you were going to set the new definition to music, what kind of tune would it be?
Well,
what genre of music would the new definition of interpretation be?
I would go to Prince's estate and see if we can open up the vault and dig something out that would be a good background for the new definition. I just was given for my birthday the big vinyl deluxe copy of the new Prince album that they released from the vault, Welcome to America 2. It is fantastic.
Well, we'll have to see what we can set the new definition from that new album there. We'll see what would fit the new definition just right.
Sounds good. And I want you to be able to state it flawlessly from memory.
A purposeful approach to communication that facilitates meaningful, relevant, and inclusive experiences. That's the Milward's mnemonic device there is MRI, meaningful, relevant, and inclusive. Experiences that
do what, Paul?
That deepen understanding, broaden perspectives, and inspire engagement with the world around us. I'm going to make it performative here.
Here's your gold star for the day.
Also, Paul, do you still have it up on your screen?
Listen, you can't prove that, and so maybe I do or maybe I don't.
But I like the the arm actions that go along with this.
Deepen understanding.
Yes. Broaden
perspectives and inspire engagement.
Very good.
I think we've come up with can we take this and make it into a group cheer at national?
Yeah. It's a little bit like those old Pepto-Bismol commercials.
And then we'll segue into YMCA.
Perfect. That's actually
the village people. Awesome.
Well, thanks for another great episode. I look forward to your next guest and the next opportunity to share what I'm excited about.
Very good.
Thanks,
Thank you, Milward.
All right. So long.
So thanks, Milward. Appreciate that. So this is actually a great segue here for us, Song, because, obviously, as we were just discussing, one of the important parts of the new definition is that we have eliminated the specificity around where interpretation takes place. And you and I have been talking for a while about how interpreters could be anywhere, interpreting anything. And that's very much incorporated into this new definition. So because of that, we are going to speak with your Pilates buddy, Brenda, who you refer to as the costume guru. Did I get that right? No, what do you call her? What do you call Brenda?
She's a costume diva.
Costume diva. We are going to talk to Brenda about costumes and how it relates to interpretation and how Brenda is an interpreter, even if she didn't realize it.
Hey, Brenda, I'm so glad that you can join us today. So your title is that you're a professor of, why don't you just tell us?
I am the head of the design program for the theater arts program at the University of Utah.
Right. Well, in my phone, your name is saved as Brenda Costume Diva.
Great.
Yeah.
I'll go by that.
When I first met Brenda, I said, so what do you do? And she's like, well, I'm a costume designer. And so I was thinking, oh, this is spectacular. She's an amazing seamstress. And then I went and saw one of her shows up at the University of Utah, Pioneer Theater Company. And it was, which one was it, Brenda? Mary Stewart. So it's a period piece. And I was just like, holy smokes, she is a costume diva. And so that's what I'm known as. And then as we got talking, I realized that Brenda she's kind of an interpreter, because there's so much more that goes into just, can you sew a straight line or on the bias? That goes into costume design, which is a lot of research and historical content and accuracy.
Indeed. I actually don't even sew too much on the shows that I do design. It is really the design work and then doing the renderings and then doing all the fittings. But the research is the part that I love the most of the whole process. Just to be able to, like Mary Stuart was a period piece about Queen Elizabeth and Mary Stuart, and just doing all that research. And then it was a interpretive show in that it wasn't a just recreation of historic costume. It had a slight edge, sort of fashion show edge. So it was doing the research and then interpreting that into kind of a new look, to be a little more modern for the audience.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, it is this period piece that kind of ran into and had a small affair with steampunk.
Yeah.
So cool. It was
Yeah.
amazing. Beautiful stuff. But so Brenda, you teach a course, right? The costume design course.
I think you're talking about the costume history class that I've been working on this summer. Yes.
Costume history class. And one of the conversations that you and I were having was that you were making adjustments to the syllabus.
Yeah, so it's been kind of a movement in the costume design world to move away from teaching the costume history in a timeline and to move it also out of being Western European centric. And with one semester to teach all of costume history, there isn't really time to add in other cultures to what we're already doing. So I just kind of had to blow it all up and start over and teach it more on a thematic basis. So I'm doing a little bit more in depth on certain things. And also, information is just free now. Like you can find stuff anywhere. So being able to analyze what you're reading and seeing in different places is the skill that I need the students to have more than the actual facts that I can give them. They need to be able to look at things and then interpret if it's a good source, if it's a true source. So I'm trying to. Oh, sorry.
You're really speaking the language of interpreters here, right? I mean, it's about more than just information. It's about more than just facts. And you use the word thematic, which is a very big word in interpretation. We deal a lot in interpretive themes. So I'll ask you the question. Suppose you run into one of your students 10 years from now. What would you like that student to remember if you said, what did you take from my class? 10 years from now, how would you want that student's elevator speech about your class to go?
That they learned and practiced a methodology for doing research and how to speak about it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, because normally what you would just send them to the library, which probably has a curated selection of what the professor or teacher would find acceptable, right? Where you're saying, as in the year 2021, we have the internet,
Right.
and there's all sorts of stuff on there which is either not accurate or not true, or so what are like good takeaways for doing good research?
Well, being sure that you, because we deal in a lot of visual research. As a costume designer, I'm trying to find pictures of people in a garment from a certain place in a certain time. And you can find a lot of pictures that say they're that, but just doing a lot of double checking, especially if you find them on Pinterest or something, to really double check where that information is from, if that is really from the country it says it is, or
So I have a question. I wanted to go back to the costume design that you were talking about, where it was historical accuracy meets steampunk.
right.
And I'm curious, I mean, in interpretation, in historical interpretation, accuracy, there's a debate between, and I will probably get in some trouble for saying this, but there's a debate between the value of being as historically accurate as possible versus telling a meaningful story that that visitors will take away significance from. And I think that, you were talking about something very intentional there, where you were subverting historical accuracy in the name of this fictional piece in an intentional way. And so I'm sort of curious where, how important that line is to you, that, something represent the time period accurately, but also that it convey these messages that are relevant to the fictional piece, the story that's being told.
Right. Well, I'm lucky that I'm in theater, because we are always trying to tell a story, and that play actually is about a fictional meeting between Mary Stuart and Queen Elizabeth, who actually never met. But the story is like, maybe they did, and this is what could have happened. So I am usually working in a world where we are storytelling, and not trying to always state literal facts. So I do have that luxury. But I do several plays that are more realistic. I'm doing a show this year that is 1990 Texas, and it needs to be way more realistic, but we still are telling a story. So I still have to really get the author's intent out there, as well as the director's bent on it. And then the actor comes into it as well, and how they feel in what I'm putting on them. And so, there's a lot of people that are interpreting this collectively.
Very cool.
Brenda, one final thing. In your newly adjusted syllabus, you referenced that, now it's 2021. So getting a little more up to date on how your students are able to do this kind of research. And then another thing that you had commented to me on is bringing in maybe a more focus on some marginalized voices within your research as well. So I think that is such a great expansion on something that we always talk about, which is how to increase, diversity, equity, accessibility, inclusion, marginalized groups, and elevating their voices. So tell me a little bit about how you're making that adjustment in your classroom.
Yeah, there was a slide show that most costume designers teaching costume history bought from a certain organization, and it was all Western European, and it was all white people. And so that's the visuals that many of us have learned with over the years. So trying to update all my visuals so that they really do show a wider range of people, because it wasn't just all white Europeans that lived since Mesopotamia onward. So it's really trying to update all the visuals and the authors, the readings I give about certain things, trying to make sure I have a variety of authors, points of view in there. And yeah.
What was that one book that you were telling me you were, you were reading until like 4 a.m.?
Yeah.
I was fascinated by it. Which one was that?
The History of Textiles, I think, was one of them. And then I read another book on the history of slave clothing, which was really interesting. So it's being able to also give my students enough interesting things so that they can find an interesting project for like their final project on something that speaks to them, and not micromanaging everybody's projects like has been kind of the way of teaching. So letting them have more say in the people that they want to research.
So Brenda, well, thank you so much for joining us and kind of giving us a glimpse into how you are adjusting for the new times, but also how you really are an interpreter based on your, your research and your historical content and themes, and the way that you can bring emotion out of the audience.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You're my best cheerleader. So thank you.
Costume Diva,
Thank you,
right
Brenda.
here, Costume Diva. All right. Thanks so much for joining us, Brenda.
Thank you.
So that was great. I really enjoyed talking to Brenda just now. Song, she's can see why she's your good friend and why she is your costume diva.
It just really is so fascinating to, be speaking with people. I think I am a true interpreter at heart because I do like talking to people. Well, sometimes I don't. It's either a lot I do or no, definitely stay away from me.
I think a lot of interpreters are like that too.
But I love talking to people. People are fascinating. And when you start those conversations with folks, you do learn such amazing things. Like, and I was like, Brenda, you're actually an interpreter.
Well, to me, the hallmark of a good interpreter is someone who is passionate about something that is meaningful to them, and they want to convey that passion and that the significance of the thing that they love to other people. And that's interpretation.
Yep. So Paul, we'll wrap up this episode. Just again, because it's in our contract, we've got to highlight the national conference coming up in Palm Springs. And you saw my 5K, you saw Paul's 5K. I think you've now seen Heather's 5K. So yeah, go right here.
We have Milward's 5K is coming. And and we're getting lots of people signing up. I'm really enjoying seeing every time someone signs up for the 5K and gets a t-shirt at the site that Song just mentioned down here, interpnet.com/5K. We see that there's someone else participating, and you can either participate at home, as Song and I have already done, or you can participate at the conference, which Song and I will also do. So it's going to be great. And we've got lots of people participating in lots of different ways. You paddleboarded. Milward definitely sauntered through his neighborhood. Heather was running up and down the steps at Red Rocks during a concert. And I ran along the beach at the Jersey Shore. So we're going to see lots more ways to complete the 5K coming soon. Yep.
Well, it all goes to support a great cause. It funds our student scholarship fund. So yep, go buy a t-shirt. The registration numbers looking really great. They go up every week. We get on our staff call and we report that there's always an uptick. So super excited to see all of you in person. Also, for those of you who can't join us in person, we have the online conference, and it will be a true hybrid. So please, if you can't join us in person, purchase your online registration and participate that way. And this is so crazy to think about, but we have already put the call out for the 2022 Cleveland National Conference Committee call.
Yeah. So if you want to be a part of, it's always so much fun working with these amazing committees. I love this year's committee for our 2021 conference in Palm Springs. I know that we have so many great people in the sort of greater Cleveland area and in that, that region of NAI. So if you're interested in working as part of this volunteer committee, the planning committee for the conference, it's so much fun. And you get to work with Song and me over the course of the next year and 3 months. And, if that's not fun, then what is fun? If that's not fun, Song, what's fun?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
So on that note, we will see you next time. Thanks for
Bye, everybody.